Trump tweet drafts have been found. Just in, Special Counsel Jack Smith obtained an extraordinary array of data from Twitter, from DMs to draft tweets, newly unsealed. Oh my God, we have access to his drafts? What kind of fire got lost, do you think, in his drafts? Like, I'm thinking there's some absolute bangers in there. Like, I want to believe. I want to believe that Donald Trump is the type of dude who's just like cooking up some real fire. And then going, I don't want to post this. They won't understand my brilliance. I mean, that is, of course, because we believe in our hearts, in our minds, that Trump is a true poster, which he kind of is. But I think he might be a little too old. This is like finding out the Library of Alexandria wasn't actually burnt down. We'll go through Trump's tweets. Apparently too old for email and text, but not for Twitter. Yeah. I could see it. I could absolutely see him being too old for. Guys, there's an alternative. There's an alternative to sending text messages and emails. It's called a phone that you have conversations on. Trump loves doing long telephone conversations. He's exactly that type of guy. Trump is the type of guy who would absolutely have a landline just so he can call people from his landline that he loves. Whereas there is no alternative to tweeting. Like, there's no alternative to having access to hundreds of millions of people at the touch of a button where you're pooping and you blast your immediate opinion into the orbit, right? There's no other alternative to that. Like, the other alternative is what? He just goes on national television, which he did a lot too, but tweeting is a lot easier. Oh, dude, Donald Trump has a landline in the bathroom. Of course he's got the 80s set up. He absolutely has a landline in the bathroom. But he's also a germaphobe, so he probably gets it like expertly cleaned every time he uses it. You know what I mean? Because he's like worried about the poop particles or whatever. Actually, I feel like he's too much of a germaphobe to have a landline in the bathroom because he thinks that poop particles will get into his brain through his ear or something, or through his mouth. But yeah, he is exactly the type of dude who would have a landline, absolutely, and also in the bathroom too. So check the guest bathroom of the boxes. Wasn't one on there, but that was the guest bathroom. That's the box bathroom. He doesn't have that shit. He's not shitting in there. I'm talking like bathrooms that he actually uses. Wireless or long curly cable? Of course not wireless. Of course long curly cable. Anyway, how do I know he's a germaphobe? Trump? I mean, he's Donald Trump. A lot of his behavior, even before he was the president of the United States of America, was out there. Like, people knew about it. People have written about him. So, anyway, we'll get to the booking. 18 indicted co-defendants alongside Trump are expected to be booked at Fulton County Jail. There's a lot to talk about. We'll cover the stories, and then we'll cover the hog watch, because we didn't really get to do a lot of the hog watch yesterday because I was too busy being a gamer. You know what I mean? So let's get started on the indictment. Trump did everything right, and they indicted him.
Against former President Donald Trump, more of his co-defendants in Georgia are criticizing prosecutors who accuse them of racketeering to overturn the 2020 election results. Nicole Killian is in Atlanta, where the accused have been told to appear by the
opinion on the line is take this stuff. I have no idea what's going on. At first I thought it was like some niche esoteric tech drama between like one tech review channel and another tech review channel not being like educational enough, and then now I realize it's like gotten bad. right? There's like people. It's actually gotten bad. I think there's like workplace harassment, things of that nature, right? Like a lot of bad workplace allegations. So it definitely snowballed into something serious. So we will get to that. Linus is allegedly anti-union. That's not shocking to me. I feel like I've heard that before. Yeah, Linus took down and put back up an apology video earlier today. Something's going on for sure. Seems like it needs to cook for a little bit longer though. Yeah. But we'll do it. We'll take a look at it. It's usually like small workplaces like that oftentimes start off with like a boys club or whatever will ultimately turn into like a professional setting without the people realizing it, and then they're just like being fucking awful. They're at a certain point it goes from like, oh, just the homies working together to like oh no, there's like a real boss coworker dynamic, and now people are abusing it. You know what I mean? Allegedly, he's openly anti-union by his own admission. He's talked about his discouragement of unions before on his podcast. He's a classic smarmy. I'm not against unions, but CEO type. I don't think we need a union, etc. Yeah. If you want a TLDR, the LTT, aka Linus Media Group, is basically experiencing growing pains and have put out wildly inaccurate data on their video, which led to one ex-employee speaking out about the toxic environment, including sexual harassment. Have you seen the Reckless Ben situation? No, I have not. Not necessarily anti-union. He just said if his employees unionized, he would feel like a failure of a boss. Like, as in, he's not offering them enough, which, I mean, yeah. I have not covered the, to be fair, at least according to Linus, he's not anti-union per se, is that he feels if his employees feel the need to unionize, then he's failed as an employer. Okay, a lot of people are saying that. Okay, so the entire dynamic for a union is because it comes with the recognition that your boss is not going to magnanimously give you a better benefits package, more of the profits from your labor. He has 120 workers. What the fuck? Okay, I did not know that. I thought it was like 5 people. 125 or 25? They put out like 20 plus videos a week. I think you guys need to understand something. And this is very serious. I don't watch any tech YouTube. Like, which even includes the Linus Tech Tip stuff. Like, the only time I've ever watched any of the Linus Tech Tip videos is on stream when you guys are like, dude, you have to watch this. This is really funny. Why would I know any about this stuff? Not even MKBHD? No, not even MKBHD. Are you going to cover Trump and his 18 indicted co-defendants being expected to be booked at Fulton County Jail, according to the sheriff? You've literally only watched LTT when you've been in the video amount. Exactly. Please be as outraged as chat so I can feel validated. I mean, if what's going on, even from a cursory analysis, it looks pretty fucking bad. I understand why people would be outraged by it. Like, my only my callous indifference is not coming necessarily from the severity of the allegations or my opinion on the severity of the allegations. It's just like, I just don't know anything about the tech world. I literally thought that like the Linus Tech Tips channel community was like 5 to 10 people max. And I also don't really care about the tech review side of it. So that's what it is. Chat just loves drama. Yeah, they do. All right, we'll get to all of that later. There's some real drama in the real world happening in the political world. I thought he built a computer for you. Yeah, he did, but he did. He made my other computer that I use for the podcast called Big Red. But like, you have to understand, how would I know how many hands touched that? My communication was with Linus and like 1 or 2 other people. Anyway, you have blood on your PC. Yeah, I'm going to fucking throw my PC in the trash, dude. Fuck. Don, since you are union support, it would be nice if you held the voice out that VFX artists need to unionize that work in the animation industry. Well, my friend, let me tell you something. VFX artists are unionizing, at least as far as I understand, which is great. I mean, I'm all in favor of it. I've talked about this quite a bit. It's like the one aspect of Hollywood that is not unionized and can be swapped over to like international shops as quickly as possible, which is precisely the reason why it's why people jump the gun, or not why people jump the gun, but it's one aspect of the industry that's like international, can be done anywhere, not really unionized, and overworked, and is also not an accident that a lot of these Hollywood producers heavily lean on the VFX side of things to massage their budgets. At the end of the day, they're doing that so they can afford a $5 a month subscription to the Hasanabi broadcast at the top of the hour, so they don't see a 3-minute ad break. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or free with Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. You can also get gifted a sub. Bernie Nard, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. You're having a legal segue week. It's all tops. I think so. 8.58, not bad. Not great. Anyway, let's get started. Trump, 18 indicted co-defendants expect to be booked at Fulton County Jail, sheriff says.
President Donald Trump, more of his co-defendants in Georgia are criticizing prosecutors who accuse them of racketeering to overturn the 2020 election results. Nicole Killian is in Atlanta, where the accused have been told to appear by the end of next week. Nicole, good morning.
Good morning, Nate. Logistics are still being worked out, but we now know that all of the defendants, including the former president, are expected to be processed at the county jail not far from here, and they can surrender at any time.
Just hours after Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis announced charges against former President Donald Trump and 18 others for their alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia,
it is now the duty of my office to prove these charges in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt at trial.
Trump said in a social media post he'll hold a news conference next Monday that will be a complete exoneration, and he repeated false claims of election fraud in Georgia. The state's Republican governor, Brian Kemp, hit back. The 2020 election in Georgia was not stolen. With 9 days left to turn themselves in, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office says it expects the 19 indicted defendants, including the former president, to be booked at the Fulton County Jail. Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who faces 13 counts for allegedly making false statements about the 2020 election, denies any wrongdoing and says he plans to surrender soon.
I'll pick a day next week, try to work out the conditions of bail, because there has to be bail, I imagine.
On Tuesday, Trump's other co-defendant and former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows sought to move the criminal charges against him from Fulton County to federal court. His lawyers say they plan to file a motion to dismiss the case, arguing nothing Mr. Meadows is alleged in the indictment to have done is criminal. Meadows was on this call with Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in January 2021.
Mr. President, everybody is on the line, and just so, this is Mark Meadows, the Chief of Staff.
During which Trump made this statement.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
After a false alarm earlier this week, the Fulton County Clerk's Office now acknowledges it accidentally posted a fictitious document with charges hours before the official indictment was unsealed back on Monday. It said it was just doing a trial run, but Trump's legal team calls it a major fumble. Gail?
So we know these new things out of Georgia, Fulton County. What does this tell us?
Yeah, so all four.
I love the timeline memes of like they have like a primary calendar, which is normal. You have a calendar of events that are coming up, primaries, debates, things like that, right? And now the primary calendar has to include Donald Trump's legal affairs, which is fire. Like they're like, it straight up it has to include like all of the many court cases and court dates that he has now.
4 indictments are now in. It's a lot. So let's take a moment. Let's
Sure.
assess where we are and what's next. Of course, Fulton County is the newest one. So what's happening in that case? The judge has given the parties until August 25th to surrender. I should say the DA has given the defendants until August 25th, next Friday, to surrender. That's the easy way. If they do that, they come in themselves, they're processed. If anybody does not surrender by then the DA has the right to send out law enforcement officials to make an arrest. We'll see if anyone tries to press that. The other big issue, and we just said this word, removal. Get ready for a lot of talk about removal. Mark Meadows is already trying to do this. Donald Trump will try to follow. In a nutshell, what this means is if a federal official gets charged with a state crime that relates to that federal official's official job duties, you can get the case moved.
Like being president or chief of staff?
Right. Within the legitimate scope of those jobs, important qualification, you can get the case moved over to federal court and then potentially dismissed. So these are really important motions. Mark Meadows has already done this. Trump is sure to follow. The other thing that we're watching for here is we have 19 defendants in this case. That's a lot. And a lot of these folks are facing criminal charges for the first time. Are people going to try to save themselves, cooperate, and flip? And if so, are they going to be able to take prosecutors up and up this essentially hierarchy?
There are people in here, like Jenna Ellis, for example, that are not only flippable, but already have flipped, at least publicly, by advocating for Ronald McDonald DeSantis, okay? So there are so many people that Trump has also openly talked about in a negative way. Sidney Powell being one of them. I would suspect that Rudy Giuliani is another weak link at the tippy top. You know what I mean? And then you have people who are rugged, self-interested, charlatan con men, like the Harrison Floyds and the Trevian Cooties of the world, who most likely will not want to go to jail for an extended period of time, and will do everything they can to lower their sentence. Now, the issue with having 19 people that are getting indicted is that, and this is probably, I guess, a good problem, there is going to be too much good information out there. So much information actually that some of it won't even be like workable intel. You know what I mean? People are going to be leaking like a faucet, you know?
Watch and see if anyone starts pleading guilty. Watch and see if there's any cooperation agreements or what we call an information, which sort of would indicate cooperation.
A lot of what's in the Georgia indictment is part of Jack Smith's, one of his most recent indictment. Walk us through those two. Well, there's 3 other outstanding cases.
Yeah, so now we're into the federal cases. This is Jack Smith's 2020 election interference case. The big issue there is, what will the trial date be? Now, DOJ last week put in a brief asking for January 2nd, 2024. Pretty aggressive time frame. Trump has not responded yet. His response is due later this week. I think it's fair to say he's going to want later, maybe never, certainly after the election. And then the judge is holding a hearing to decide the trial date and other scheduling issues on August 28th, a week from Monday. Now, the other Jack Smith federal case, now we're talking about the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. They are going through, how are we going to handle classified documents? Now, remember, DOJ returned a superseding indictment, a sort of version 2.0, where they added this third defendant, Mr. Diallo.
Yeah, trial date is March 4th officially. Fulton County DA Willis proposes Trump trial start date as March 4th, 2024. I need you to understand something, okay? March 4th, 2024, we are there. I'm going to be there, okay? I'll be there no matter what. Right before the primaries, that is my March Madness, okay? Mark your goddamn calendars, because I'm going to be doing court watch I'm going to be doing court watch. I'm going to go nutty with it. I will not be going to Georgia. No, I will park my ass home so that I can live stream the broadcast being filmed inside of the Georgia Fulton County courtroom uninterrupted. I'm going to sit my white ass down and I'm going to listen. Plan the fits. I've already been basically teasing the fits for you this entire time. I've been teasing the fits for you this entire time. If one more person sends me Ludwig's NPC stream, I'm going to shut the stream off. Come on, guys. Come on. We're in the first hour. We're covering the news. Please stop. Like, it's okay. You know? Please. Like, I just stop. Everyone is spamming it in the chat. So many fucking people are just like, dude, please stop covering the news. You have to look at this. Like, stop. Stop. Anyway.
Oliveira and added 3 charges against Donald Trump. And so the question is that going to compromise the May 2024 trial date? Again, the dynamic Trump's going to want to push back. DOJ is going to say, let's keep it. And then finally, let's not forget the first of the cases to land, the Manhattan DA's case about the hush money payments. They're going through pretrial motions, and they have a trial date of March of 2024.
Calendar?
Okay, look how wide open 2024 is. This looks great. We have an election in November of 2024. New York, the hush money case. Sure. Their trial is scheduled for March. That's definitely going to go through April. Mar-a-Lago, the Florida case we were talking about, that is set for trial starting in May. That's going to go into July. Now, where are the other cases going to fit? Let's take Jack Smith's January 6th case. They want to start it in January. They do not have enough time to get that in before the New York case. And then we have Fonnie Willis's case. There's no place for that.
Because you can't go so close to the election.
They're not going to start. If they start a trial in August, that's going to run right through the key months of the general election. There's no way we're going to have a trial.
Especially a RICO case.
Especially a RICO case. So I don't see any room for Fonnie Willis's case before the election. Even Jack Smith's case, someone's going to have to get rid of this case. I mean, Alvin Bragg, the DA on the New York case.
You mean move it?
Move it, yes. Not dismiss it, but move it. Let's be clear. Alvin Bragg has said publicly, he's on a little bit of a PR campaign where he said, hey, if I have to try to come off this trial date to accommodate the others, I'm willing to try to do that.
All right, Ellie, thank you so much. We'll get more with you in a little bit. Phil.
Well, the only thing keeping pace with Trump's mounting legal woes are apparently the strategies to defend him. Here's a sampling of how some of Trump's allies are responding to this Georgia indictment.
Imagine if this had been applied to Al Gore's supporters when he contested Florida in 2000. This is a direct threat to the American system of the rule of law.
There were alternate electors sent in 1876. There were alternate ones sent in 1960. On advice of counsel, Trump asked Pence to kick it back to the states for recertification.
I love CNN getting into the React game. Okay? They're doing hogwatch, dude. That's my shit. That's my shit. What are you doing? CNN producers are out there. CNN producers are out there quite literally doing my shtick. Bar for bar. Oh, yeah. By the way, I already memed the fucking, you know, I will be there no matter what. Okay? That's me.
Where state legislatures are constitutional.
Shut the fuck up. I know there's an iFunny watermark. It was the one that I could find quickest, okay? I know. I was contemplating whether or not I should actually like zoom in further so I could cut that part out, but then it would make the I will be there no matter what look bad. So the fact that it's in there, better. No, you can't crop it. You can't crop it on desktop. It makes it harder to crop on desktop. It's weird. The snipping tool exists? Yeah, man, I'm not going to fucking do that. Too much work. Shut the fuck up.
Actually empowered to determine elections. That's called politics.
Alternate electors had legal precedent of being selected and chosen in the Kennedy-Nixon 1960 election.
Joining us now, CNN political analyst and senior political correspondent for the New York Times, Maggie Haberman. Maggie, there's a lot to dig into here, but one of the things I want to start with, and I think the team, and Poppy knows, I've been talking about this all morning, I think yesterday afternoon and last night too, is the alleged report that the former president has decided he's going to release. It's definitely going to definitively lay out fraud that everyone and their mother and every court has repeatedly said is not true. The intent behind this, what is it?
So my colleague Jonathan Swan and I reported yesterday that a number of Trump's aides and allies woke up yesterday, several hours after he had been indicted, in Georgia for allegedly trying to subvert the election and being part of a conspiracy to do so, to find that he had posted this social media posting saying there is going to be a major news conference on Monday where he is going to show this report. We dug into it. We learned that Liz Harrington, a Trump aide who works in communications, at least in part compiled what is more than a 100-page report about Georgia, specifically, as we understand it, and about what she believes and what he believes, despite all kinds of evidence to the contrary, is widespread fraud in that race, and that this is what he was going to move forward with. It's unclear whether this press conference goes forward, but that's what it refers to. And Phil, we should note, just to the point that you guys were just making about the various layers of his legal travails here, Liz Harrington is an aide who shows up, albeit unnamed, in another of the indictments that Trump is facing, the one related to Mar-a-Lago documents. She was in the room, according to multiple people, when Trump was brandishing what he described as a secret military document that he could have declassified as president.
Your piece with Jonathan is so interesting this morning. The headline is Trump taunts tests limits of release. And you're right, Mr. Trump is now probing the limits of what the criminal justice system will tolerate and the lines that Judge Tanya Chutkan sought to lay out about what he can and cannot say. He is really pushing here in a way that could really hurt him in terms of how this trial is conducted, when this trial is conducted.
So Judge Chutkan, and he has been attacking prosecutors and other judges in these various cases, but Judge Chutkan, who oversees the J6 case against him at the federal level, warned at a hearing on Friday with the two parties that there was clearly going to be a limit to Trump's free speech. Now, his lawyers and his advisors argue he's the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. He's a political candidate. He should have a fair amount of leeway because of that. And she was suggesting there are going to be limits despite that, because the laws of the court have to come first. He went within a short time of that hearing and began posting on Truth Social, his social media website, other people's posts, I guess we'd call them truths, about Judge Chutkan, adding some of his own commentary. Generally, it was other people's. One included a very large picture of her. And so he is very clearly testing the terms of his release, both in that case and I would say with these attacks on prosecutors, in others. Poppy, some lawyers say, and we talk about this in the piece, other defendants, if they were doing similar things, would be in jail. Now, it's very complicated to think of something like that happening to somebody with a Secret Service detail, but there is the question of, will the judge or the prosecutors seek some kind of recourse as he continues to talk?
Well, she did threaten to move it up the more he talks about, not the personal threats, but about, discovery.
Right. What she suggested was that she may be forced to preserve the sanctity of the jury pool and witnesses. She may be forced to move the trial date up sooner if this continues. And so we'll see if the government tries to suggest that he has.
This dude, I told you guys. Where is the chatter who just linked this to me? I told you guys, right-wingers are on their Angela Davis arc, okay? Right-wingers are basically, oh, here it is. It's Nick on Twitch. You were right. They're becoming Angela Davis. Right-wingers are on their Angela Davis arc talking about how obsolete prisons are, okay? Are they obsolete? Why don't we have prison abolition? Has anyone ever considered that? What is crime, really? Why is nobody talking? Why is anybody thinking about crime? What is a crime, really? Crime is not a crime. They went from law and order. They went from advocating to execute by firing squad every single homeless person they see for the crime of loitering to maybe prisons shouldn't be around. I mean, wow, look at how awful these prison conditions are. I mean, look at that. Fox News discovers that American jails are a problem. Awesome.
Has already breached that.
Maggie, for the last several months, probably longer, there's been a lot of speculation about Mark Meadows, his role in all of this, regardless of the...
I think the funniest outcome of this is Trump doing a classic, like going to prison and then turning to Islam and coming out like very religious. That'd be fire. Trump on his Allah is the light arc coming out of prison. Fire. Oof. May Allah awaken the people. He has done so much for me. I have submitted myself to the will and guidance of Allah.
Special counsel investigation of the Georgia investigation. He was obviously indicted in the Georgia case. He moved alone yesterday, or his legal team moved alone yesterday to try and shift things from state court to federal court. I was interested in the fact that he did it by himself. He didn't do it with any of the other 18 indicted co-conspirators, including the former president, and then he moved first. What's your sense of that dynamic right now?
How is it that certain hawks can recognize the terrible material conditions and engage with terrible things happening in prisons and completely disregard that when voting? Hello? They're hogs. Americans in general do not have most people in general just don't have like a consistent worldview, but Americans especially do not have a consistent worldview. And that is capitalist dogma, okay? Capitalist dogma has within it inherent contradictions, whether it be the constant class clashes, the antagonism amongst the classes, but for it to survive, for capitalism to survive and thrive, there needs to be institutions created to reinforce that this is a naturally occurring phenomena, and that the oppression that you are and the struggle that you're experiencing is due to your own lack of motivation, or just due to your own morality, even in certain instances, like you're a bad guy, that's why you're suffering, because poor people suffer because they're bad, or maybe some other red herring. And given that Americans are hyper individualistic and also incredibly entitled, you will never allow them to see that the very people that they are, voting for are those who are stealing money from their pockets. Matt Christman is right, yes, when he said Americans view politics not as a way to change material conditions, but as a way to punish people they don't like. And that is born out of, one, the thing that I just mentioned, every institution that you experience, that you live with, that you that is delivering information to you, is telling you that all the brutal conditions are normal and there's no other alternative. But also century of inaction from either party in a direction that helps improve their material conditions. I cannot think of a singular moment in contemporary American history where Americans saw with their own two eyes their government doing things that just objectively benefited them, benefited their material conditions, truly improved their lives. I don't mean just in a marginal way, and I don't mean in a way that was where they were like, wow, the government does have my back. There are two instances that are, I guess, there are two instances that come to mind. One is the COVID checks, okay? One is the COVID checks, which were cleverly titled Trump Bucks. And the other one is the ACA, which, of course, had a multi-billion-dollar propaganda machine working against it, which is why the Affordable Care Act was billed as Obamacare and was lied about non-fucking stop, as though it was actually creating death panels which is also known as triage, which ironically did happen during COVID and continues to happen in rural areas. Okay? And also was lied about endlessly and was also done in a way where incremental marginal change occurred. It wasn't like as broad sweeping as possible. There were incredible provisions in it that were super successful, and then there were provisions in it that were basically billed correctly as a mechanism to take further tax dollars and give it to the insurance industry. The ACA in and of itself was quite literally first implemented by a Republican governor who went and ran against Obama. Mitt Romney, when he's the governor of Massachusetts, implemented the ACA in the state of Massachusetts. That's number one. And two, the ACA was, and a lot of people forget this, created by the Heritage Foundation in the 90s as an alternative to real socialized health care. And even then, the ACA was gutted at the federal level, at least, by the constant, most successful American principled political position of states' rights, which, of course, is not principled at all, but only weaponized against whatever kind of good social, whatever kind of good civil liberties, advancement in civil liberties, or whatever kind of good social safety nets that the federal government is trying to implement. Yeah, no public option. That was already gutted, destroyed, again, by forces within the Democratic Party, for the record. Then it was gutted again by the Supreme Court. It was allowed to be eviscerated in red states where governors refused to take additional federal subsidies and help to expand Medicaid, only to have every single one of those states slowly but surely voted on ballot measures 10 years after the ACA was implemented in certain instances, because it was done by Obama. And every step of the way, the very same Americans that would benefit the most from Medicaid existing in their state in the way that it was supposed to, or even socialized medicine, were advocating against it. So every part of the political machine in the United States of America works against the material interests that the voters have. Okay? And after a century of this sort of, either on the Democratic side, negligence, feckless ineptitude, or on the Republican side, outright disdain for the working poor, and policies of deregulation, Americans have completely given up on the prospect of their federal government genuinely helping them. Most terrifying thing you can hear from anybody is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, right? That's the mentality, the Reaganite mentality of starving the beast. Truly accelerated this disdain that Americans have for big government. And that is precisely the reason why Americans just don't feel, understandably, that their government is there to help them. Okay? So, in an environment like that, you can't help but see the only thing that does work, which is cultural wedge issues that were crafted mostly by the Republican Party in an incredibly reactionary manner to drive a wedge between the two parties to make it seem like either party is actually working on things that are dramatically different that people vote on, and it becomes spite-based. American politics is purely spite-based for that reason, where it's not about voting for, positive freedoms or voting for any kind of, or not even positive freedoms, but voting for any kind of like material change in a positive direction for yourself, but instead about stopping other people from enjoying things they want to stop. if you're a Democrat, you look at Republicans, what are they enjoying? Shooting guns. By the way, I do agree in gun control, for the record, make no mistake, but shooting guns, being racist, whatever the fuck. And you want to stop that. You want to take their toys away. You want to take their F-150 pickup trucks away. You want to take their burgers away. On the other side, Democrats enjoy what? Civil liberties, such as having access to medical care that you still have to pay for, but at least you have some level of bodily autonomy over your own body. Republicans are like, nope, not on my watch. Don't want that. Kind of funny to consider it like this. Kind of funny to talk about it like this, but that is the way it works. On the one hand, you want to implement gun control and things of that nature because you understandably see how devastating guns have been in this country, which the Republicans are like, fuck no, absolutely not. Pry it from my cold dead hands. On the other hand, Republicans are like, oh, do you enjoy medical freedom? Fuck you. It's a bit silly when you describe it like this because wedge issues are inherently reactionary because they've been crafted and cultivated in a laboratory by Republican psychopaths. So, of course, it's still one-sided, But at the end of the day, Matt Christman is correct. Americans understandably feel like their government is not there to help them, that the government hasn't helped them in many, many years. So we might as well use the government to harm our opposition, take their treats away. Sometimes for good reasons, and maybe sometimes for bad reasons. Now, I don't even know if we can change that. Like, I don't know if they're, because in order to change that, you have to actually do things. More of these, loan forgiveness, for example, things of that nature need to happen where people do genuinely see the government helping them. And it will take time, but both the Democrats and the Republicans understand that and see it as a terrifying prospect because if American people dare to dream that the government can help them at a certain point, well, then they're going to demand more. And that puts every politician at a shitty impasse where they actually have to do work instead of constantly blame the opposition for the gridlock and go, ugh, we just can't do anything about it.
I think the moving first was significant, and I think that you are going to see a pretty aggressive defense by Mark Meadows in that case. I think that they are trying to lay down a marker that this ought to be in federal court. I'm not really surprised, Phil, that it was only him. I don't think that in a RICO case where defendants are arguing they're not part of a conspiracy, that they all want to necessarily move together. I think that Meadows is going to make a specific argument as a former chief of staff. But as you note, Meadows is a focus of specific attention for a lot of people, for people around Trump because people have wondered what he has said, for prosecutors because he's one of the people who knew a lot. Now, he clearly was not especially helpful to investigators in Georgia. I mean, you can just read the indictment and see that. But I think you are going to see him try to argue very extensively that he should not have to face trial in a state court in Georgia.
Does it indicate anything to you, though, that he was not indicted in Jack Smith's probe about January 6th, and he is indicted here just in terms of cooperation?
I don't want to speculate about what he may or may not have done in other cases. We know that with January 6th House Select Committee, he partially cooperated. He turned over thousands of texts and then would not give an interview. Here, he does not seem to have done a whole hell of a lot, although as I understand it, he had been brought in, I think, at some point by prosecutors. He is very apparent in the federal indictment, as you say. There are scenes that relate to him, but he was not indicted. But a number of people, Poppy, were not indicted by Jack Smith in that case. And so I would like to see where this goes as we go forward.
Let's talk more about that, Rudy Giuliani. Being criminally charged in Georgia isn't the only trouble that is facing Giuliani, Trump's former attorney. CNN has now learned that even
Giuliani strapped for cash. The only motherfucker that has enough cash is the one that is the president, or was the president. Still my president, brother. Hell yeah. And all of the other co-conspirators are broke. Kind of makes the situation a little bit worse for the main guy. At a certain point, you have to make sure even organized crime understands this. In order to make sure that the RICO charges are as difficult as possible to implement, you have to make sure that your hitmen are properly juiced. If you don't grease the wheels, if you don't actually defend them, if you don't actually pay for their legal services, their legal counsel, well, then you're kind of screwed, because they can cook you, even if they don't want to. If there's a guy who knows this better than anybody else, as I covered yesterday, it's Rudolph Giuliani. He made his name in New York as being a prosecutor that prosecuted organized crime in New York with RICOs. Wonderful situation.
Before this indictment, Giuliani is staring down hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal bills and more related to his work for Donald Trump after the 2020 election. Still, Giuliani isn't shying away from attacking the DA in Georgia, who he'll soon see in court.
She's a politician and not a lawyer, not an honest, honorable lawyer. This is a ridiculous application of the racketeering statute.
I would know it. I've used it many times.
Probably no one that knows
I gotta pee, hold on.
better than I do. This is not meant for election disputes. I mean, this is ridiculous what she's doing. Also, I don't know if she realizes it, because she seems like a pretty incompetent, sloppy prosecutor.
Let's get over to CNN's Caitlin Polans. Caitlin, tell us more about this reporting that you've uncovered about what the current state of Rudy Giuliani's financial situation is.
Yeah, Kate, Rudy Giuliani doesn't even have the money to respond to some of the demands that are being made upon him as these lawsuits related to the 2020 election move forward. So we saw some court filings this week. There's even a hearing happening right now in New York in the defamation case that Smartmatic, the voting machine company, had filed against Giuliani for making false statements about them and the 2020 election. And in that case, he has all of his electronic records held by an archiving company, a data holder called TrustPoint. And that company needs to have him pay for searches so that he can turn over his records in these lawsuits, not just the Smartmatic lawsuit, but in others. And in this court filing on Monday, he doesn't have $15,000 or somewhere between $15,000 and $23,000 to pay them to run the search he needed to run. He also doesn't have the money to keep his electronic records hosted by this company. They charge about $20,000 a month, every month, to keep his records active and alive so that he can use them in these lawsuits to defend himself. On top of that, he has other bills. He just had a court order recently where
Bro, how the hell do you have $57,000 in unpaid phone bills? What kind of phone sex was he engaging in? God damn, dude. This has got to be a scam, right? There's no shot this is like, why is it $20,000 monthly fee to host electronic records? Like, how expensive is that? What the hell? Anyway.
he has to pay cell phone bills that went unpaid in 2020 related to his company. That is not a small amount either. And then there is also, on top of that, bills that he has to pay for sanctions, for other people's legal fees where he hasn't responded appropriately in these 2020 election lawsuits. So, Kate, it is a lot of money that he has to pay now, and that's just the start if he were to lose these lawsuits and also those criminal cases. That costs money to defend as well.
Yeah. I mean, if $57,000 in phone bills that have gone unpaid, I mean, that you're right. That is no small amount. And that's just one little element of what he's up against. Great to see you, Caitlin. Great reporting. Thank you. Sarah?
Joining us now, Nick Ackerman, former assistant special Watergate prosecutor and former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. I'm going to start with this, and then we will also get to Giuliani.
We got a $30,000 phone bill from Verizon once, but that was for using 4 terabytes on a 20 gig data plan. How are you using 4 terabytes of data? What is happening? The amount, I mean, obviously that's for a company, right? But like even then, that's unimaginable. What kind of porn maximalist are you?
Why is Mark Meadows trying to move the case from state court to federal court.
Rudolph Giuliani's consultancy racked up $57,000 in unpaid phone bills after it failed and refused to pay its telco for 9 months. Consulting firm started by former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani owes more than $57,000 to a Georgia-based telco after failing to pay phone bills. A new judgment detailing the full cost was filed against Giuliani Partners LLC on Sunday in the New York State Supreme Court. Cost includes 9 unpaid monthly bills from 2020 that Momentum Telecom said the law firm failed and refused to pay. Giuliani Partners also owes a further $30,000 from an early termination fee. Oh, God. It's like, bro, the company is gross too. Okay. What is this? $30,000 early termination fee? Like, fuck you. I can't believe telecommunication companies are so goddamn gross that I end up finding myself siding with Rudolph Giuliani. Think about that. They are so gross. What are these business contracts, man? What the hell is going on? Judge Suzanne J. Adams affirmed on July 17th that the consultancy must pay $43,000 to the telco, along with interest accrued since May 2020. Sunday judgment calculated the interest at $12,000. Giuliani started his consultancy in 2002 and left 2007 amid questions of his failure to disclose some of the firm's clients. Wall Street Journal reported that one of his clients was Qatar, which received security advice from Giuliani. The revelation steeped Giuliani in controversy given Qatar's past ties with al-Qaeda. Giuliani was running for president at the time and had positioned himself as a post-9/11 guardian against Islamic terrorism. The firm, which typically provides security and management consulting services, played a role in former President Trump's 2020 re-election bid, receiving travel expenses of $63,000 from Trump's campaign and $76,500 from Make America Great Again PAC. Court records show Giuliani Partners has not filed any response to Momentum Telecom's debt filings. Incredible stuff, man. One of my accounting sites at an AT&T bill cost $34,000 for the last 6 months. What? I work for AT&T Business Care, and I can tell you $30,000 is nothing. I've seen customers place orders for $5,000 iPhones and accounts with $10 million plus dollar bills every month. What is happening? I like that I'm not even kidding, the entire structure is just on the business side. Like enterprise accounting just revolves around scams upon scams, it seems. It's like monopolies taking advantage of scams. The other businesses have the money to pay for it somehow. Everything's a racket, dude. 80% of the economy is upcharging businesses 200% and hoping they don't notice. It's a scam off, brother. It's a fucking scam off. Speaking of which, by the way, this is a grift off. Ollie London and Yeonmi Park also having their own version of a scam off. The Face app is bugging out in that photo. Yeah. The only difference between Ollie London and Yeonmi Park operating like this is basically, let me tell you something. They're having a grift off too, but they're just like, they're doing it at a smaller level. You know what I mean? These are smaller level scams. The higher level you go, the more legitimate it becomes, and you turn into fucking AT&T or whatever this telecommunication company is. That's it. Low level scams are like top of the hour ad breaks. You know what I mean? 3 minutes of ads at the top of the hour, where if you no longer want to see those, ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. You know, that's another way that you can avoid the top of the hour ad break. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Sakura Gore, thank you for allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads. 2 Korean queens, Ollie and Yeonmi. Oh, I saw this. Twitch will be launching the ability to prevent banned users from viewing your stream. Yeah, get fuck shitters. Oh, it's so good. I think it's great. It's a great idea. Haas, you're going to lose half your viewers. It's all good. I'll take it. I would take the L if it makes it so that people think twice about trolling and shit. It won't do anything. They can just open an incognito apps. Yeah, but remember, one thing you have to remember is that not everyone is that dedicated. Surely I have that.
Damn, this guy's good.